handed over to private sector. The law was only given an option. Kung give up ka na, wala kang magawa. But Your Honors, I'm saying this so that the Socoteco 2 won't go to that point wherein nag-negative na ang funds at kailangan nang i-declare na ailing at kung wala nang magawa para ma-solve ang problema, let's give up the electric cooperatives. I would like to state, Your Honors, that my advocacy is the strengthening of the electric cooperatives in the country. I did a lot of work for the electric cooperatives, including the aggregation of electric cooperatives, which I started here in Mindanao, to demonstrate the viability of the electric cooperative as distribution utilities, and primarily, one, because it is a utility company that doesn't have conflict of objectives. I'm saying this, Your Honors, because under the EPIRA law, it is allowed that a distribution utility may own a power generation company to the point that the distribution utility will be buying from its own affiliate. And to me, this conflict of objective is the reason why our power rates are so high in the country. And we can only demonstrate that we can reduce power rates in the country through the electric cooperatives because they do not have the same level of conflict of objectives. So, in 2010, I therefore organized the electric cooperative in Mindanao. For the first time in the country, there was competitive selection process for the procurement of power supply. And that translated to a power rates, a generation contract price signed by the electric cooperatives in Mindanao at 4.09 pesos per kilowatt hour. But the backdrop of this, Your Honors, that Meralco's contracts was about 5 pesos to 5.50 per kilowatt hour. It begs a question that should be answered: why electric cooperatives can contract at so low compared to the contract signed by the biggest distribution utility in the country? When I say it is biggest distribution utility in the country, if you would like to imagine, Meralco franchise 6 in 3% of the land area of the country, while 60% of the kilowatt hour demand of the consumers is in that 3% area. On the other hand, the electric cooperatives constitute only 20% of the total demand of the country, and yet they cover 80% of the land area of the whole country. And that's why, Your Honors, it's the same reason why system loss of the electric cooperative are expected to be higher compared to the private distribution utilities serving key cities in the country. The lines of our electric cooperative goes to power plant areas because they are mandated to implement the rural electrification program, which actually contribute to high system loss. So that explains why the ERC system loss cap for Socoteco 2 is 8.25%, while in Meralco, the franchise area of Meralco, the system loss cap is only 5.5%. Because they are densely situated ang kanilang distribution utility. Anyway, Your Honors, this system loss can be solved, but it needs drastic measure. That means they needed to buy several meters, thousands of meters. They needed to find those 12,000 households that are not metered. Now, and by the way, this represents 65% of the total system loss. Because when I was analyzing the system loss of Socoteco 2, 35% of this unbilled system loss was coming from the big customers and mainly coming from General Santos City. So your honors, meron din po tayo mga commercial customer na mukhang hindi po name-metro ng tama.
I'll give you 5 more minutes, Professor.
Apo, sige po.
Please, continue.
Thank you po. So, let me go to the next slide. No? Because this is my analysis of the brownouts issues in the franchise area. I would like to illustrate, this illustrates the substations of Socoteco 2 that are being supplied coming from the transmission system of NGCP. You will see that there is only one way, one line going to all substations. The implication of this is that every time NGCP does maintenance, Socoteco 2 will announce that because of NGCP, maghapon po tayong brownout. Under the distribution code, these lines from the transmission to substation must be developed by the distribution utility to achieve what we call loop system. That means the code requires that there should be no brownout to this substation. But the current configuration of Socoteco 2's substation is like this. And that's explained why there are so many brownouts, Your Honors. So, what's the solution? Pakilipat po. The solution to power interruption is to automate the operation using SCADA, but you must first build the infrastructure so that no substations as illustrated here will be supplied from a single source from the transmission. In addition, from the substation of the electric cooperative, the distribution feeder must also be looped and would have to be installed. There should be a lot of automated and remotely controlled switches so that they can transfer supply whenever there is brownout in any of the feeder. So this, Your Honors, can achieve 5 to 10 hours of brownout per year. And this is achievable. For developing countries, achieving or targeting 5 to 10 hours of brownout maximum is possible and it's in order. In fact, the developed countries, their performance in the distribution is that they have maximum of 2 hours per year. Meaning, regardless of the number of times there's interruption, for 1 year, the maximum hours 2 hours only. For industrialized country. For country like us, especially electric cooperative with urbanizing area like Jensen, this cooperative must prepare a CAPEX plan that would meet this level of performance. And Your Honors, when I look at the CAPEX that was prepared and submitted to the ERC, I just want to warn you that do not have too much expectation even if the ERC will approve it, because that CAPEX plan is a business as usual CAPEX plan. It's a CAPEX plan based on continuing the radial system that I've shown earlier. No alternative supply to any substation. So that you can temper your expectation. So my recommendation therefore is that let's prepare an accelerated CAPEX plan for resiliency of the electric cooperative. And so, Your Honors, I've worked with the core plan team of Socoteco 2 last year, to prepare this. And I should say, and I would say that they are able to follow my instructions in preparing, identifying the specific projects needed towards this configuration and operation of the system. And let me summarize briefly what are those. Next slide. Subtransmission looping, and the total amount needed in order to implement this will be around 2.27 billion. If we look all the subtransmission lines so that no substation will be supplied by only one line. That means provide redundancy. Next slide. All the substations will have two alternate incomer para makarating ng dalawa po ang pupunta sa mga substation, and creating a lot of switching stations so that when it is operated automatically, it would be the computer can actually transfer intelligently those lines where should be disconnected and connected in response to faults and abnormalities in the system. That would cost the electric cooperative 1.1 billion. Next slide. The switching station, next slide. Because of the growing demand of the area, we've looked at and considered putting up additional substation, and that would require additional 1.6 billion pesos. Next slide. Looping the distribution feeder itself so that customers, any feeder that will have a fault, all consumers connected to the feeder can be transferred to another substation, thus minimizing the duration of brownouts. And that's why I said that if this will be implemented, Socoteco 2 can achieve 10 hours of brownout per year. So, Your Honors, last slide.
How much is the feather that will cost looping of the
That's
2.2 a while ago.
2.3 Your Honors for the
This will be-
feeder looping and sectionalizing project. Next slide. So, considering other requirements in order to modernize the electric cooperative, that I suppose Jensen deserve very much because you are a growing city, urbanizing city. SCADA, 161 million. Meters and metering facilities, this will basically aid in ensuring that the system loss, yung ma-arrest natin yung mga nakaw na kuryente. Our estimate, this is with the core plan of Socoteco to 657 million. Other lines and other distribution line rehabilitation, that would be 558 million, and to serve customers high quality service on voltage, 493 million. Total, next slide. Other requirements such as vehicles, etc. Total na lang, total na lang, last slide. So this is the light years honors. I'd like to summarize that if Socoteco 2 would solve the problem in terms of infrastructure, Socoteco 2 needed 10.5 billion. And I suggested when I presented this to Socoteco 2 that this 10.5 billion of infrastructure must be implemented not in 10 years. You know, you don't want your MCOs to wait for 10 years for this to be realized. But since you cannot do this overnight, my recommendation is that today and 5 years from now, Socoteco 2 coverage areas should have no power issues anymore. There would be no public hearing in this hall, Your Honors. if Socoteco 2 would be able to raise this money. So, and I'd like to inform you that this is beyond the normal capex of Socoteco 2. Because Socoteco 2's normal capex is only 300 million a year. Compared to this, about 2 billion a year. That's why at the end of the day, the issue to solve Socoteco's problem, in order to provide quality service, in order to arrest the financial losses due to high system loss, is all about financing these capital expenditure requirements, Your Honors. Thank you po.
Thank you very much, Professor Wallen. I really appreciate, naintindihan ko po na talaga, no? At least, Professor, tayo po ang nagbigay liwanag sa isipan ng mga general ang galing po sa inyo talaga. Pero may tanong po ako, Professor, kailan niyo po naibigay yung recommendation ninyo, yung findings ninyo sa Socoteco 2?
Last December po.
Last December po.
Opo.
So, last December, bibigyan ito. So, ibig sabihin po, yung capex na ini-file ng ating mga butihing director ng Socoteco way back 2015, hindi to saklaw sa nakita ninyo.
Opo.
Nakita niyo ba ba yung accelerated capex na ipafile pa lang nila sa ERC?
Kung ito po yung tinutukoy, then yes, because I submitted this and I had an occasion to present this also to the board last December.
Kasi ang alam ko parang mga 300 plus million lang ata. How many million nun? Patrick Yap, Honorable Patrick Yap, how much is the accelerated capex you mentioned na ipafile pa lang niyo sa ERC? Please.
Your Honor, for the period of 2015 to 2023 is amounting to 2.7 billion.
Yung bago lang po, yung ipafile pa lang ninyo, kasi pending yun eh, yung ngayon lang.
Ito po yung amount,
Ang
10.5 billion.
ito yung pinail ninyo recently na
Yes,
capex natin.
Yes po, based po doon sa
Ipafile pa lang.
ipa-file pa lang.
So, ibig sabihin, hindi pa talaga... Sir, kay December nyo po na-file na ibigay sa kanila o October din?
December po.
December, so January,
But
February,
Your
March.
Honors, just to the technical people would have to do a lot of technical documentations because the ERC will not, what I did to them is a rapid capex planning because we cannot do the very, very detailed ones in order to arrive at what needs to be done.
I
So
understand.
after this, their technical people will have to
I understand, ipafile pa lang nga po
Opo.
nila eh. So, they have still 5 months pa man lang, no?
uh,
Yung Sambuanga,
Samselco po.
Subsweldo po, sinabi ko kanina, yung premise was grabe, mas malala pa yung subsweldo sa City of General Santos. Na-address ninyo yung technical system loss and non-technical system loss.
Ina-address pa rin po, continuing.
Kaya nga, but they responded it immediately.
Opo.
When did you have this finding sa Sambuanga?
2 months prior to coming here.
So, 2 months pa lang po, na-address na nila ngayon, bumaba po.
After 4 months po, because they immediately, I think the electric cooperative has spent mga 200 million to purchase all the materials required.
And yet, we cannot compare naman sa Buanga with Jensen.
Opo.
With the coverage of Socoteco to napakalakad po kasi.
Opo.
So they need just a smaller budget.
Opo.
Any queries from that? I will be the one to ask
Mr.
query
Chair.
later. Yes, Honorable Atinido.
Sir, thank you. Sir, clarify ko lang the systems loss per month is 13.5 million.
for the year of 2024 that I specifically look at, just to say, just to, feel, so how much the co-op is losing every month? The total uncollected system loss, because it's beyond the cap, was about 13.5 million per month.
Before another query, Honorable Tenido, may I ask Honorable Beth to assume this presiding seat? Temporary proceed. Honorable Tenido, proceed.
Executive, Attorney Omar Mayo. Attorney, tanong nga ako kay Attorney.
Attorney
It's a
Omar
little bit,
Mayo
alarming.
of NEA.
May
Okay.
tanong nga po ako sa
Please approach the podium.